Hello, my name is Zara Parham. I am a financial aid advisor in the financial aid office here at Columbus Technical College. Today I'm going to give you some general information concerning financial aid. That general information is going to cover the different types of financial aid that is offered in the financial aid office. And then I'm going to cover a very important aspect dealing with financial aid, and that aspect is satisfactory academic progress. Let's begin by talking about how does the financial aid office communicate with students here in the financial aid office. We communicate in two ways. We will either send you a student email. If you do not know how to log into your student email, please visit the Click Lab, which is located in Patrick Hall, room P132. Students need to check their student email at least once a week. If there are some issues going on with your financial aid, we will send you an email to your student email. The second way in which the financial aid office communicates with students, we will send you a text message. If you need to update your cell phone number here at Columbus Tech, please visit the registrar's office, which is located in the Heartline building. Next slide. What is financial aid? Financial aid is funding intended to help students pay for their college expenses, such as tuition, fees, room and board, books, and any supplies that you may need. There are many different types of financial aid, and we're going to cover them this morning. We're going to talk about the federal Pell Grant. We're going to talk about the Hope Grant, the Zell Miller Grant, the Hope Career Grant, the Hope Scholarship, the Zell Miller Scholarship. We're going to briefly talk about federal work study, the student access loan, and then lastly, private student loans. All financial aid begins with the FAFSA. The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. In order to complete the FAFSA, we need students to go to fafsa.gov to complete the FAFSA. This FAFSA is used to process all types of financial aid. There is no charge to complete the FAFSA, and again, you go to fafsa.gov in order to complete your FAFSA. Pell Grant. Pell Grant will cover associate degrees, diplomas, and certain certificates, and those certificates being healthcare science, nail technician, certified Microsoft Office specialist, esthetician, and computer forensic and investigation certificate. So just keep in mind, if your major or your program of study is a certificate, Pell Grant only covers those 5 certificates that I've just mentioned. Hope Grant. Hope Grant covers diplomas and certificates only, all certificates. A student must maintain a 2.0 GPA. And keep in mind, the Hope Grant is money that is coming from the state of Georgia. So you must be a Georgia resident and be able to prove that you're a Georgia resident for the past 12 months. So once you have completed 30 credit hours here at Columbus Tech, the state of Georgia is going to check your GPA and make sure that you're maintaining that 2.0 GPA. And then the state of Georgia will check again once you have completed 60 credit hours. In order to maintain and keep the Hope Grant, students must maintain a 2.0 GPA. Students also must be U.S. citizens or eligible non-citizens, and male students must comply with the Selective Service Registration. Also, students must comply with the Georgia Drug-Free Post-Secondary Education Act of 1990. It basically states that if you have been convicted of certain felony offenses involving drugs, that you may not be eligible for the Hope Grant. Also, in order to receive the Hope Grant, you must not be in default on a student loan. You must not owe any money to any financial aid programs. And again, you must maintain satisfactory academic progress. You're going to hear me talk about satisfactory academic progress throughout this presentation, and in just a moment, I'm going to go into detail concerning satisfactory academic progress. If a student has a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, the student is no longer eligible to receive the HOPE grant. Typically, HOPE grant pays $67 per credit hour. Credit hours are $89, so you can tell that HOPE grant typically pays about 70% of a student's tuition. The maximum amount of HOPE grant that a student can receive is 63 credit hours. Once HOPE has paid for 63 credit hours of your tuition, then you have maxed out on your HOPE grant, and there is no more HOPE grant for a lifetime for that particular student. Let's turn our attention to the HOPE Scholarship. The HOPE Scholarship is for students who are enrolled in an associate degree. So again, your major or your program of study must be an associate degree. Students who want to receive the HOPE Scholarship, they must maintain a GPA of 3.0. So the HOPE Scholarship is financial aid from the state of Georgia. So once a student has completed 30 credit hours, 60 credit hours, and 90 credit hours at those 3 checkpoints, the state of Georgia is going to check and make sure that you are maintaining that 3.0 GPA. In the event that you fail to maintain that 3.0 GPA at those 3 checkpoints, you will lose your HOPE Scholarship. You can regain it once, but you could lose that HOPE Scholarship. Unlike the HOPE grant, the HOPE Scholarship will not pay for learning support classes. The maximum credit hours that a student can receive the HOPE Scholarship is 127 credit hours. Once HOPE Scholarship has paid for 127 credit hours, you have maxed out on your HOPE Scholarship for a lifetime. Also, beginning July 1st, 2011, HOPE Scholars must use the HOPE Scholarship within 7 years of graduating from high school or completing their GED. In order to receive the HOPE Scholarship, students must submit their transcripts. The college is going to check, or in particular, the registrar is going to check and make sure that you have that 3.0 GPA. So to begin the process of you receiving the HOPE Scholarship, you must visit the financial aid office, complete what we call a HOPE GPA evaluation form. We're going to ask if we have all the transcripts from previous colleges, and if we do, we will go ahead and begin that process of checking to make sure that you have that 3.0 GPA that we're looking for in order for you to receive the HOPE Scholarship. Students who receive the HOPE Scholarship before 2011 can receive HOPE Scholarship until the year 2099 unless they have a bachelor's degree or they have reached their maximum of 127 credit hours. The Zell-Miller Scholarship. It is for students who are seeking an associate degree only. To be eligible for the Zell-Miller Scholarship, a student must graduate from an eligible high school with a 3.0 GPA and a minimum score on the SAT or the ACT. While you're in college, you must maintain a 3.3 GPA in order to receive the Zell-Miller Scholarship. And again, this is money from the state of Georgia. So once you have completed 30 credit hours, 60 credit hours, and 90 credit hours, the state of Georgia will check at those 3 checkpoints to make sure that you are maintaining the 3.3 GPA that is required to receive the Zell-Miller Scholarship. The Zell-Miller Grant. It's for students who are enrolled in a certificate or a diploma. Students must maintain a 3.5 GPA. Both the Zell-Miller Scholarship and the Zell-Miller Grant pays 100% of a student's tuition. The HOPE Career Grant. If the student receives the HOPE Grant or the Zell-Miller Grant, they may also qualify for the HOPE Career Grant. The Hope Career Grant is only available for students who are in certain majors or in certain programs of study. Listed now is a list of those majors or programs of study that is currently eligible for the Hope Career Grant. So I'm going to wait just for a moment here for you to look over this list to see if your program of study or your major is listed. And if it is, then you will qualify for additional financial aid. So we're just going to pause here briefly. Next slide. We have some additional majors. So again, we're going to pause briefly to see if your major is listed for the Hope Career Grant. Next slide. If your major was listed and you received the Hope Grant or the Zell Miller Grant, then you are eligible for the Hope Career Grant. If you're enrolled in 9 credit hours or more, you will receive $500 from the Hope Career Grant. If you're enrolled in 3 to 8 credit hours, you will receive an additional $250 in financial aid from the Hope Career Grant. If you're enrolled in 1 or 2 credit hours, you will receive an additional $125 from the Hope Career Grant. Let's talk about student access loans. From time to time, students will receive financial aid, either the Pell Grant, the Hope Grant, Zell Miller Grant, so on and so forth. However, the student still feels the need to have additional money available for educational expenses. And that's where the student access loan comes into play. A student must be a resident of Georgia for at least the past 12 months and be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen. In order to receive the student access loan, the student must complete a FAFSA. So please go to fafsa.gov to complete the proper FAFSA. Students must maintain satisfactory academic progress, and we'll talk about satisfactory academic progress in just a moment. And students must be enrolled in at least 6 credit hours in order to apply for the student access loan. What makes the student access loan such a great loan, it offers a low interest rate of 1% for the entire life of that loan. 1%, that's almost no interest. So that's what makes the student access loan such a great loan. 60 days after you have been given the student access loan, you will have something called the Keep in Touch payments. Your Keep in Touch payments will begin. Now we cut it short and call it the KIT payment. So KIT payments are required while a student is in school, enrolled in at least 6 credit hours, and while the student is in their 6-month grace period. Keep in mind, once you graduate or you have left the college, 6 months later, your monthly payment for the student access loan will begin. So while you're in those 6-month grace period, you will have the KIT payment. And typically the KIT payment is only $10 a month. Let's turn our attention to federal work study. This is where you can apply for a job here on campus. Now we do have a few jobs that are off campus. The jobs typically pay minimum wage, and right now minimum wage is $7.50. It'll be slightly more if you are chosen or given a job that is off campus. Students can work up to 20 hours. Students are paid twice a month. And keep in mind, your manager will work around your school schedule. So if you're interested in getting a job here on campus or a job maybe off campus, please visit the financial aid office and complete your federal work study application for a job. Private student loans. Again, students can receive the Pell Grant, the Hope Grant, the Zell Miller Grant, and any other type of financial aid that is offered through our financial aid office here at Columbus Tech. However, students may find that they still need additional money in order to pay for their educational expenses, and that's where the private student loan can come into play. So students can apply for a private student loan with any bank or any lender. Now, Sallie Mae and Regions Bank, they have stated that they will process private student loans for students who are enrolled here at Columbus Technical College. But keep in mind, students can apply with any bank or any lender. So if you currently have a bank, you're more than welcome to check with your bank to see if they offer student loans. Columbus Tech does not recommend or endorse any particular lender or lenders. All right, so you all have heard me talk about satisfactory academic progress 3 or 4 times already. So let's talk about what is satisfactory academic progress. There are 2, sometimes 3 basic components dealing with satisfactory academic progress. The first basic component deals with your GPA. Is a student's grade point average high enough to reach graduation standards? All students, and I do mean all students, must maintain a cumulative grade point average of 2.0 or higher. So how is a grade point average calculated? Now, in the financial aid office, we do not manually calculate GPAs. We've got software programs that will do this for us. So in this example, you see that withdrawal passing and withdrawal grades are not counted in the semester or the cumulative GPA. Now let me stop right here and explain what I mean by cumulative. Cumulative means your grades for all the classes that you have taken here at Columbus Tech only. It does not mean the grades taken from any other college, just the grades that you have taken here at Columbus Tech. We will average those grades, and once we average those grades, we're looking for a GPA of 2.0. So here we have an example. We have a student that was enrolled in 3 classes. They made an A, a B, and a C. So for the A is worth 4 quality points. That particular class was a 3 credit hour class. So 4 times 3, the student received 12 points for that particular class. And the class in which they made a B, the B is worth 3 quality points. That was also a 3 credit hour class. 3 times 3, the student received 9 points for making a B in that second class. And then in the third class, the student made a C. The C is worth 2 quality points. That class was a 5 credit hour class, so 2 times 5 is 10. When you total up your 12 plus your 9 plus your 10, you come up with 31 points. And then when you total your credit hours, you have a total of 11 credit hours. 31 divided by 11, this student has a GPA of 2.82 just for this one semester. Keep in mind, financial aid deals with cumulative GPAs. Your GPA for all of your classes that you have taken here at Columbus Technical College. The second basic component dealing with satisfactory academic progress, it deals with the 66.67% completion rate. So in a nutshell, what that means, of all the classes that you have taken here at Columbus Technical College, you must complete and pass 66.67% of those classes. So in this example, we have a student who was enrolled in 33 credit hours, and they passed all 33 credit hours, so their completion rate is 100%. We have a second student who enrolled in 33 credit hours, but only passed 21.99 of those 33 credit hours. So the second student, their completion rate is 66.64%, which is below the 66.67% that we're looking for, and therefore the second student is in jeopardy of losing their financial aid. The third basic component dealing with satisfactory academic progress, it's something that we call the 150% rule. So is the student completing enough hours to complete their program of study within the maximum time frame? So the best way for me to explain the 150% rule, if your program of study says you must complete 50 credit hours in order to graduate, then financial aid is going to give you 75 credit hours of financial aid. Now keep in mind, financial aid realizes that life happens. Financial aid realizes that you may enroll in a class and things are not going well in that class and you decide to withdraw from that particular class. That is why the 150% rule is there, so that you will have enough financial aid in order to graduate. So again, in a nutshell, the 150% rule deals with, again, my example, if it takes 50 credit hours to graduate, you'll get 75 credit hours of financial aid so that you can graduate. How often is satisfactory academic progress reviewed for financial aid purposes? And the answer is satisfactory academic progress is reviewed at the end of every semester. So what happens if you fail to meet one, two, or all of the components dealing with satisfactory academic progress? In the event that you fail to meet satisfactory academic progress, you will be given a status of financial aid warning. Under financial aid warning, you will still receive financial aid. However, if you still fail to meet satisfactory academic progress, your status will be assigned financial aid probation. And if you ever find yourself on financial aid probation, that means that you have lost your financial aid because you have failed to meet the three components that make up satisfactory academic progress. So again, if you find yourself not meeting satisfactory academic progress, you will be assigned the status of financial aid warning. The financial aid office will give you 1 semester in order to make improvement. But the good thing is, even while you're on financial aid warning, you will receive financial aid even under a warning. However, the critical thing is you must make improvement. If it's your GPA that is deficient, you must bring that GPA back up to a 2.0 cumulative GPA or higher. If it's your completion rate that is deficient, you must maintain a 66.67% completion rate. If satisfactory academic progress is not met while you are on financial aid warning, then you will be given a status of financial aid probation. So financial aid probation, that means that the student has consecutively failed to meet 1, 2, or all of the satisfactory academic progress components, even after the financial aid warning period. So now the student has been given a status of financial aid probation. This means that the student will not receive financial aid until they improve whatever that deficiency might be. Again, if the deficiency is in the GPA or the completion rate, the student must bring the GPA and or the completion rate back up to those minimum standards. So how does a student pay for their tuition in the event that they find themselves on financial aid probation? There's several ways to pay. So you can pay for your tuition out of your own pocket. If you are a veteran and you receive VA benefits, satisfactory academic progress will not affect your VA payments. You can still receive a scholarship. It's what we call a third-party scholarship. And an example of third-party scholarship, I recently met a student who worked at Taco Bell, and Taco Bell paid her tuition. So that Taco Bell scholarship was what we call a third-party scholarship. So your third-party scholarship may not be affected by satisfactory academic progress. If you find yourself on financial aid probation, you can still apply for and perhaps qualify for a private student loan. So again, you can go to Sallie Mae, Navy Federal, or any other bank or lender in order to apply for a private student loan. So how can a student be removed from financial aid probation? 2 ways. You can pay for your own college, pay for your own tuition out of your own pocket, and successfully meet satisfactory academic progress on your own. Or number 2, you can file what we call a financial aid satisfactory academic progress appeal. The appeal is for extenuating circumstances only. So extenuating circumstances, it could be things such as I was diagnosed with an illness during a semester and therefore I did not do well during that semester. Now, an illness, we're not talking about a cold, we're talking about a serious illness. There have been students that have been diagnosed with cancer, and instead of coming to class, they need to be treated for that cancer, receive radiation, or whatever the case may be. We have had students who were in serious car accidents and they were unable to come back to school. That's what we mean by extenuating circumstances. Something that is beyond your control. You had no control over whatever event may have happened in your life. Another example of an extenuating circumstance, students had a house fire during the semester. So now the student is more concerned with finding adequate housing for them and their families and unable to come to school. So again, those are examples of extenuating circumstances. If you have any questions about is your circumstance an extenuating circumstance, we always want you to come or call the financial aid office. So if you have an extenuating circumstance and the extenuating circumstance is approved, then the financial aid office is going to put you on what we call a financial aid academic plan. So this is where you are below satisfactory academic progress, but you have an extenuating circumstance that has been approved by the financial aid office. So the financial aid academic plan, it is a written agreement which the student signs indicating that they desire to succeed at Columbus Technical College. So the student submits some paperwork that proves that they had an extenuating circumstance. If your extenuating circumstance was illness, then we're looking for something from a doctor or a hospital stating that you were diagnosed with a certain illness or injury. If it was a car accident, we're looking for something, maybe a police report, or maybe something from your insurance stating that you had a car accident on a particular day, and that day must have been during the semester that you were enrolled here at Columbus Tech. So again, you must submit paperwork that proves that you had an extenuating circumstance. You must sign paperwork in the financial aid office. In particular, you're signing the academic plan. And at the end of every semester, you're going to be evaluated to make sure that you're making progress towards meeting the 2.0 cumulative GPA, or to ensure that you're meeting the 66.67% completion rate. We have had very few students that did not meet the 150% rule. But in the event that you find yourself not meeting that 150% rule, which is the third component of the satisfactory academic progress, if you find yourself not meeting 150%, come to the financial aid office. Most times what students must do in order to meet 150%, we ask them to change their major. And once they change their major, then their financial aid will begin again. But if you have any questions, feel free to come to the financial aid office. Now keep in mind, you're signing a financial aid academic plan. And if for any reason you do not follow the terms and conditions of the financial aid academic plan, then you will be removed from the plan. You will be placed back onto financial aid probation. And we've already said financial aid probation means you now have no financial aid, and you must pay for your tuition on your own or apply for a private student loan, or like I said, if you're a veteran, the VA and satisfactory academic progress does not affect your VA payments. So again, there are some rules and regulations when you sign the financial aid academic plan. The first semester that you're on the plan, we ask that you enroll in no more than 6 credit hours. You must remain enrolled in those 6 credit hours. No withdrawing from those credit hours. You cannot change your major unless it's approved by financial aid as well as an academic advisor. You must maintain at least a 2.0 GPA for that particular semester, and then at the end of the semester, probably about a week after the semester ends, we ask that you come to the financial aid office and meet with a financial aid advisor so we can sit down and talk and see how well you've progressed to meeting satisfactory academic progress. Now, these terms are doable. However, if for some reason you do not abide by the conditions of this financial aid academic plan, you'll be removed from the plan, placed back on financial aid, you'll lose your financial aid, and have to find other ways in which to pay your tuition. Let me ask a question. Is it possible to be in good academic standing and still be placed on financial aid probation? So we're talking your academics are good, but you've lost your financial aid. Do you think that's possible? And then let me ask a second question. Can a student be in good financial aid standing and be placed on academic suspension? So can your financial aid be in place, but your grades are not what they need to be? So let's look and see what the answers are. So the answers to both of those questions is yes. Keep in mind, academics, and it's rare that financial aid talks about academics, but academics looks at your GPA for that one semester. If you do well for that one semester, then you get to go and enroll in the next semester. Whereas financial aid looks at your cumulative GPA. We're looking at all of your grades and getting the average for all of those grades. And once we get the average, we're looking for a 2.0 to be your average. So just keep that in mind. Financial aid looks at everything cumulatively, whereas academics typically looks at things one semester at a time. You do well in that one semester for academics, you get to move on to the next semester. So, believe it or not, we're almost at the end, so you all bear with me. How to check financial aid status in Banner Web. Every semester we get tons of phone calls, and we're okay with getting phone calls. However, there's information just right at your fingertips concerning how to check your financial aid. How much Pell Grant did I receive? Did I receive the Hope Career Grant? Did I receive the Hope Grant? Did I receive Zelle Grant or the Hope Grant, whatever the case may be? Well, those answers are right at your fingertips. So I hope this particular screen is familiar with everyone. This is the Banner Web, how to log into Banner Web. So you'll log in on this particular screen. Next slide. And then you will click on Student Services and Financial Aid. And then you'll click on Student Records. And then after Student Records, you see where, in this example, fall semester 2017, it's in blue, whereas everything else is in black writing. So the fact that it's in blue, that means that you can click on it and go into another screen or drill down to another screen. So next slide. This is where we have clicked on fall semester 2017. And you see at the very top is your tuition as well as your fees. You see towards the middle deals with Pell Grant. And then towards the end of this particular screen, it deals with if you received any VA payments, if you received any NailNet payments, any third-party scholarships, so on and so forth. So again, right at your fingertips is all of this information concerning, well, how much was my tuition? How much was my Pell Grant? How much am I getting back in a refund? Now keep in mind, when you're dealing with financial aid, a negative number is always good. So towards the middle of the screen, do you see the negative $590.29? That means that is the amount of your refund. Yay! Next screen. So again, this particular slide just basically tells you negative amounts are good when you're dealing with financial aid. It is the amount that we owe you versus you owing us any money. A few other aspects that we're going to talk about. From time to time, you may find yourself having to withdraw from class. We don't want that to happen, but if you must, then you must. So class withdrawal, it affects your completion rate. And I'm just curious if you remember, what completion rate is financial aid looking for? We're looking for 66.67% or higher to be your completion rate. So when you withdraw, it lowers your completion rate. And if you get it too low, you could be in jeopardy of losing your financial aid, and we definitely don't want that to happen. Total withdrawal from all classes during any semester, it could result in what we call return to Title IV funds. This will cause you to owe money back to the school. So if you withdraw during a certain period during the semester and you receive Pell Grant, well, Pell Grant is financial aid from the federal government. And the government says if a student withdraws from all of their classes, I want the financial aid office to send us our Pell Grant back. So if we send you if we send that Pell Grant back to the federal government, then that means that you have lost that particular financial aid, and it's up to you to pay your tuition. So before you completely withdraw from all classes, we need you to pick up the phone, or we need you to visit the financial aid office so we can tell you how withdrawing from all classes, or in the event how withdrawing from one class, is going to affect you. We don't want you to do anything that's going to jeopardize your financial aid. Purge. 3 times every semester, 3 different times during every semester, the financial aid office has something that we call purge. It's where we look and see, does the student have a zero balance, or is the student still in need of paying the tuition or paying their balance to the school? In a nutshell, we're looking to make sure that the financial aid is in place, that VA is in place, that third-party scholarship in place. We're looking to make sure that you have a zero balance. If you do not have a zero balance, you will be removed from your classes on purge date. Again, we have 3 purge dates every semester. We will have a purge date a few days before the semester begins to make sure that students have a zero balance. If they do not, and they have a good reason for not having a zero balance, well then the student, we're going to check it a second time to see if you have a zero balance. That second time that we check, if you do not have a zero balance, you don't have that financial aid in place, you could lose or be removed from your classes. And again, towards the end of the semester, we'll check again, we'll check a third time to make sure that you have a zero balance. We don't want you to be removed from your classes. It's important to do things early, to go ahead and complete that FAFSA as early as possible so that your financial aid will be in place. And then lastly, we have something that we call no-show. This is where you've enrolled in a class, but you have not been going to that class. If you fail to attend a class, then your instructor is going to remove you from that class. If you're removed from class, your tuition is going to decrease, your financial aid is going to decrease, everything decreases. So instead of you being in 12 credit hours, you were no-showed out of one class and now you're in 9 credit hours. Your tuition is now going to be based on 9 credit hours, your financial aid is going to be based on 9 credit hours. So there's a possibility that you may come up short with your financial aid, that you may not have enough financial aid to pay for that tuition in the event that you are no-showed from a class. So always come either to the financial aid office or contact your instructor in the event that you are no-showed out of a class, but you really want to be in that particular class. If you have any questions, I want to invite you to please come to the financial aid office, which is located in the Heartline building. The Heartline building is located right next to Walmart. I hate to say it that way, but we are located right next to Walmart. When you walk through the front door, we want you to speak with the receptionist, and that receptionist will direct you to the financial aid office. Again, if you have any questions, pick up the phone and give us a call. Our phone number is area code 706-649-1859. Thank you for your attention.